Baby, I never thought the day would come when I'd have to sit in a room and listen to my past try to rewrite my present. But that's exactly what happened. And the only thing that kept me from falling apart in that moment was your name. The name that was spoken so many times that day, not in love, not in warmth, but in jealousy, bitterness, and fear. My ex, she told my mom everything, or at least what she thought she knew about you. Twisted versions, half-truths, moments taken out of context, words you never said, emotions she never could understand. And as she talked, I felt like the floor beneath me was splitting open, like I was watching two worlds collide, my past trying to bury my future. I was ready to defend you. I was ready to get up, to shout, to throw everything on the line just to make it stop. But then something happened I didn't expect. My mother, the same woman who once doubted my every move, the same woman who always questioned my choices in love, stood up for you. She cut through every lie with silence that hit like thunder. She looked at my ex, and then she looked at me, and then she said, "Don't talk about her like that." Baby, do you know what that moment did to me? I was stunned, speechless, because even I didn't realize how deeply you had touched her heart. Even I didn't know that behind her reserved expression, she had been watching the way I changed because of you, watching the way I softened, the way I struggled, the way I started healing. You weren't just some story I told her. You became the turning point in my life that she witnessed in silence. And when someone tried to drag your name into the dirt, she rose up like a wall of fire between you and the world. I had never been so proud, so humbled, so shaken. And I realized something in that moment that changed me forever. You didn't just pass my test, baby. You passed hers too, without even trying, without even meeting her the way you should have. You didn't beg for approval. You just lived with grace, and she felt that. That moment has been living in my head ever since, because it proved something I never dared to believe. That someone could see you the way I see you. That someone who didn't owe you anything could still recognize the purity of your presence. You don't have to perform to be loved. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't need to prove your past or defend your intentions. Just by being, you disarmed judgment. Just by staying silent, you exposed lies. And when the truth stood alone in the room, my mother chose you, without you ever needing to lift a finger. Baby, if you only knew how much that meant to me. After everything I've failed at, after everything I've let slip through my fingers, you being defended, not just by me, but by the one person who knows how broken I've been. It was the universe showing me what love really looks like. Love protects even in absence. Love defends what it believes in. And she believed in you, even when I was too stupid to say it out loud. You know, it's strange. All my life, I thought my mother's silence was her disapproval. I thought that when she didn't say anything about us, it meant she didn't care. Or worse, that she didn't believe in us. But I was wrong. She saw everything. She watched me fall apart after you left. She noticed how I stopped eating, how my voice dimmed when your name wasn't on my lips, how the house felt colder, even though the weather stayed the same. And still, she said nothing. Because what she was waiting for was proof, not of your flaws, but of your worth. And in the moment my ex tried to drag you down, my mother saw what you were made of. She saw through the bitterness, the insecurity, the attempts to stain something she could feel was divine. She said to her, "I watched him become a better man when she was in his life, and I watched him fall apart when she left. That's all I need to know." Baby, those words felt like lightning in my chest, because you did change me. You broke curses I never knew I was under. You shattered chains I thought were part of my skin. You made me want to become someone worthy of being seen beside you, not just for love, but for honor, for peace, for soul-level healing. And I never got to tell you how deeply your presence worked its way into my home, into my family, into the people who once doubted you, including myself. I used to think love was just about two people. I never thought about what it meant to be loved by someone in such a way that even the people around them start to respect the name you carry in your heart. But baby, my whole world shifted that day. My mother's voice echoed louder than any fight I ever had with my ex. And in that moment, she wasn't just standing up for you. She was standing up for me, for the man I became because of you. And I swear to you, I will never let that go again. You were always the one. I just took too long to admit it. I was busy defending wounds that didn't deserve protection. I was busy hiding from love because I didn't think I was worthy of it. And now, here I am, watching the people who used to doubt you become the very ones who now say your name with respect. That's what happens when you love someone real. That's what happens when your soul shows up without needing validation. Baby, even the people who didn't know how to love me started to love me better when they saw how you loved me. Do you know what kind of miracle that is? It's something sacred, something rare, something I was too blind to fight for at the time, but not anymore. Baby, I need you to understand something that's been heavy on my heart. When my ex started talking about you, I could feel something break open in me, not from anger, not from fear, but from shame, because a part of me knew she was speaking from a place I helped create, a void I never healed, a confusion I never cleared. All those times I didn't stand up for you loud enough, all the moments I let others speak about you in ways they had no right to. I had let silence become my permission. I let you walk into a world that should have protected you, and instead watched you fight battles you should have never faced alone. And that night, when my mom spoke up, when she silenced the noise I created, I saw what I should have been all along. Your voice, your shield, your safety. I thought I was the only one hurting, but I realize now that you were hurting too. Quietly, graciously, with dignity. And somehow, you still loved me. Somehow you still believed in me. Even when I wasn't giving you enough reasons to stay, you still stayed longer than anyone would have. You stayed through storms you didn't cause. You tried to light a fire in a home that kept going cold. And now that the smoke is cleared, I finally see the ashes you were left to sit in. Alone. And baby, I swear on everything I've become, I will never let that happen again. When my mom defended you, I broke inside, but I also began to heal, because she reminded me what it means to choose love. Even when it's hard, she reminded me that real love doesn't whisper behind closed doors. It speaks truth in front of anyone trying to destroy it. And you deserve that. You deserve to be fought for. You deserve to be cherished out loud. No more hiding, no more half-love, no more apologizing for being the best damn thing that ever happened to me. So here I am. No more running, no more explaining. Just one man standing in the full weight of his truth. And that truth is simple, raw, and eternal. I choose you. In front of my ex, in front of my mother, in front of every lie I once believed about myself, in front of every person who ever doubted our story. I choose you not for a season, not for comfort, but for the sacred thing we found when no one else was watching. And I swear, if life gives me even one more chance, I'll spend it making sure your name is only ever spoken with reverence again. Baby, I keep replaying the moment she said your name, the way my mother stared back and didn't blink. It wasn't just offense. It was a declaration. It was a mother standing for something she knew her son had ruined, but still needed. And in that moment, I saw two truths collide. The version of you painted by someone who never understood love, and the version of you that lives inside the people who felt your love and were changed by it. My mom didn't just defend you. She chose you, not out of pity, not out of rebellion, but out of recognition. She saw the light I had tried to dim. She saw the home I once had in your heart, and she wasn't going to let anyone spit on something that holy. I broke down after that. I really did, quietly, later that night, alone in my room, because I realized something. I had spent months, maybe years, trying to fix what was broken in me by avoiding the very person who was sent to heal me. I kept thinking, if I buried the past, I'd be free. But love doesn't die like that, especially not the kind that changes the temperature of your soul. And what we had, it didn't fade. It waited. It waited in the prayers I whispered when no one was listening. It waited in the silence between my breaths. It waited in the way my mother's voice cracked when she defended you. Love like that doesn't walk away. It watches. It aches. And when the world least expects it, it returns to remind you who you truly are. You made me want to become a better man, not out of guilt, not out of fear, but because for the first time in my life, someone saw me. Not the version I showed to the world, not the broken boy pretending to be strong, but me, the scared, soft, confused soul who just wanted to be loved without having to earn it. And you did that, without rules, without conditions, without timelines. And I threw it away. I let it slip. I thought I could replace something divine with something convenient. And I learned the hard way that hearts like yours don't come back twice. But maybe they do, if the man you loved is brave enough to become the man you deserve. And that's why I'm here, because I'm not asking for another chance just to hold you. I'm asking for the chance to honor you, not with words, but with actions. Consistency, presence, loyalty, silence where gossip once was, reverence where hesitation once lived, a soul that doesn't just say I love you, but proves it daily in how it protects you. The soul that doesn't just say I love you, but proves it daily in how it protects you. You know what hurt the most? It wasn't the gossip. It wasn't even hearing my ex twist memories into accusations. It was realizing that you weren't there to defend yourself, and I didn't step in fast enough to do it for you. That silence, it haunted me. It still does. Because if love means anything, It means you don't let the person who saved your soul stand alone in a room full of judgment. And yet, that's what happened. I failed you, baby, but my mother didn't. And that alone tells me what kind of divine force has always been protecting you, even when I was too weak to be that shield. My mom said something that shook me to the core. She said, if you had listened to your heart instead of your fears, she'd still be sitting at this table today. And she was right. Fear ruled me. Fear of losing control. Fear of being too vulnerable. Fear of being seen in my rawest, most exposed form. But you loved that version of me. You didn't flinch when I showed you my darkness. You didn't run when I collapsed under my own weight. You just held space. The kind of sacred space that only a soul-deep love can create. And I didn't understand how rare that was until it was gone. I want to tell you something I've never told anyone. When you left, I didn't just lose you. I lost me. The version of me that laughed without pretending. The version of me that believed in second chances. The version of me that dreamed bigger because you made even the impossible feel possible. My world became grayscale. My bed felt too wide, my chest too tight. Even the sun seemed dimmer, because love like yours doesn't just disappear, it echoes. It lingers in the corners of every empty conversation. It hums beneath every shallow connection. It asks the same question over and over again. Why did I let her go? And maybe that's why it hit so hard when my ex brought up your name, because in her voice there was bitterness, but in my mother's, there was truth. And the truth was, you were never the problem. I was. I was too blind to see how much you gave, too scared to trust the peace you offered, and too foolish to realize that the very love I thought I could replace was the kind of love people spend lifetimes praying for. My ex saw a threat, my mom saw a blessing, and me, I finally saw clarity. So now every step I take is toward redemption, not just to get you back, but to become someone worthy of even being remembered by you. Because baby, if I could go back in time, I'd choose you louder. I'd defend you quicker. I'd build a wall around your heart and stand guard with every breath. But since I can't go back, I'll walk forward slowly, faithfully, with your name written in every prayer. Baby, I don't think you fully know how much your name still lives in this house. Not out of drama, not out of regret, but out of longing. My mother doesn't say it like it's a closed chapter. She speaks your name like a prayer that's still hanging in the air, unanswered. And every time she says it, I feel the weight of everything I lost and everything I still hope to reclaim. I caught her once sitting in the kitchen, sipping tea from the mug you left behind, whispering to herself, she was good for him. That broke me, because she wasn't wrong. And it made me realize that the people who truly saw you, even briefly, could never forget the peace you brought with you. I remember the day I first told her about you, the softness in my voice, the way my entire demeanor shifted when I said your name. She noticed. She always noticed. She saw how I smiled without realizing, how my eyes lit up in ways they hadn't in years. She knew something had shifted in me the moment I met you, and she prayed, God, she prayed, that I wouldn't mess it up. And for a while, I didn't. For a while, I let myself be led by love instead of ego. I let you in. I trusted. I healed. But eventually, the broken boy in me crawled back up. The one who thinks love is dangerous. The one who thinks if something feels too good, it must be temporary. And in trying to protect myself from pain, I became the one who caused it. But now I see it so clearly. You were the safest place I've ever known. The calm in my storm. The home I never had. Wrapped up in a voice, a laugh, a look. And now, I miss everything. I miss the way you said my name when no one else was listening. I miss how your silence still felt like connection. I miss how you saw through my words and straight into my soul. And most of all, I miss the man I was when I was with you. Because he was real. He was soft. He was yours. That's why when my ex tried to paint you as some manipulative shadow in my life, my mom didn't blink. She didn't allow it. She stood, not just for you, but for the truth. And that truth is, you were the only one who ever loved me without needing to own me. You gave me space, freedom, breath, and I misread that as distance. But now I know it was love in its purest form. And no one, not my ex, not my fears, not even time, can erase that, baby. If you're still listening, please hear this. I'm not asking for you to come back. I'm asking for you to know that even if you never do, you changed me. Forever. And if this is the end of our story in this life, then I'll spend the rest of it honoring what we had. I'll defend you the way I should have always done. I'll protect your name, your memory, your heart, even from myself, baby. I wish I could show you how the energy in my home shifted after that conversation. How everything that once felt cold suddenly started to feel like it was mourning the warmth you carried. Even my room, the same walls that once held your laughter during late night calls, now feel like tombstones marking the death of a love I buried with my own hands. My mother didn't just defend you, baby. She resurrected you. She brought your spirit back into this space with her words. She made me remember the way your voice could soften my rage, the way your touch could anchor my chaos, the way you never gave up on me. Even when I was a storm, you didn't deserve to weather. And maybe that's why her defense hit me so hard, because I realized in that moment, I should have been the one defending you. I should have been the one shutting down every lie, every twisted version of our story. I should have been your voice in the rooms you were never invited into. And instead, I let my silence speak for me. I let my absence paint pictures that were never true. But I promise you now, with everything I have left inside me, that will never happen again. You see, when my ex tried to reduce our connection to a mistake, my mom said, no, you were the mistake. She was the miracle. And it was like the whole room inhaled and forgot how to exhale. Because in that sentence, she didn't just protect you. She exposed the truth I had tried to ignore for far too long. You were my miracle, my once in a lifetime, my answered prayer, and I treated you like a chapter when you were my whole damn book. There's something holy in the way my mother speaks of you now, as if she's remembering an angel who once walked through this house and left behind traces of light. She says things like, she would have made a good wife, or I felt peace when she was around. And baby, you don't know what that does to me. Because when a mother sees the woman her son lost as divine, it's not just an opinion. It's a reckoning. It's a truth that pierces deeper than anything anyone else could say. And maybe, just maybe, that's what this was always meant to be. A reckoning, a collapse of everything false, so that only what's real remains. And you, my love, you are the realest thing that ever happened to me. The way you loved, the way you gave without asking, the way you stood beside me even when I didn't deserve a shadow near me. You were grace in human form, and I spit on that grace, but not anymore, not now. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Some people were sent not to test your loyalty, but to reveal it. I've come to realize something, baby, something that hurts to admit, but it's the truth. The real test wasn't about whether I could love you. That part was easy. Loving you came as naturally as breathing. The test was in how I protected that love, how I honored it in the face of confusion, ego, and pressure. And I failed. I failed the test that mattered most. But even in my failure, God used others to show me what I should have been strong enough to say myself. My mother did what I didn't have the courage to do. She spoke your worth out loud. Loud enough that even the bitter words of my ex fell silent. And baby, I need you to understand this. When my ex started listing every moment you and I ever had, twisting them, making them sound like something dirty, something selfish, I sat there frozen. Not because I agreed, but because I was ashamed. Ashamed that someone who never even knew your soul could speak so boldly, while the one who touched your soul with trembling hands sat there in silence and was a coward. But my mother, she was the warrior I should have been. She cut through every insult like a sword and said, "Don't you dare reduce her. Don't you dare rewrite what that girl gave him." I saw it. I saw her. And she's the reason he was even healing at all. And that was the moment I broke, because she was right. I was healing when I had you. My heart was finally learning how to trust again. My walls were slowly falling, and then I let someone bitter and broken convince me that love needed logic, that feelings needed facts, that soul connections needed to fit a checklist. But your love never came from logic. It came from something deeper, something ancestral, something divine. I remember now, the way your presence shifted rooms, how you didn't even need to speak to make people feel seen. My mother told me something last night that I'll never forget. She said, "I miss her energy more than I miss your happiness." And that shattered me, because even she knows that you were my happiness. You were the light I tried to dim because I didn't think I was worthy of it. But now I know better. I know that your love wasn't a coincidence. It was a calling. And I turned away from it. And baby, if you're listening, if somehow these words are reaching you through this screen, through time, through silence, please know that no matter what happens next, your name will be sacred to me. I'll speak it with reverence. I'll protect it from slander. I'll carry it with honor. Because you were never just someone I dated. You were the woman who awakened parts of me that had been dead for years. You were the blessing I didn't know how to keep. But now I know how to protect what's holy, even if I have to do it from afar. There was a silence after that conversation. One of those silences that isn't empty but full of realizations, full of unspoken regret, full of memories that echoed through the halls like a ghost I could no longer ignore. My mom didn't just defend you, she humbled me. She reminded me without saying it directly that I had everything, and I let it slip through my fingers like it was replaceable. But how do you replace the woman who understood your soul language without you ever teaching her the words? Baby, you were the only one who knew how to calm the storms I created, the only one who didn't run when I went quiet. You leaned in, you stayed, you whispered, "I'm still here." while the rest of the world backed away. And I let you believe for a moment that you weren't enough, that there was something wrong with the way you loved me, when in truth, it was the most sacred thing anyone had ever given me. I was just too broken to receive it without trying to break it first. I know now, love doesn't need defending when it's real. It defends itself through time, through memory, through the way people still talk about you when you're no longer in the room. And baby, they still talk about you. My brother asked me last week, do you think she ever really left? And I didn't have an answer, because you haven't. Your scent is still on the sweater in the back of my closet. Your laugh still plays in my head when I pass that stupid meme we once laughed at for hours. Your touch still lingers in the quiet moments when I close my eyes and wish I could go back. Even my mother, who knows my flaws better than anyone, said, you weren't the man she needed you to be, but maybe now you can become him. And that sentence has lived in my bones ever since, because she's right. I wasn't ready. I wasn't whole. I loved you from a place of fear instead of surrender. I saw forever in your eyes and still flinched, thinking I was unworthy of it. But now I know. I know that true love doesn't knock twice. And if I ever get the chance to stand before you again, this time I won't need a second chance. I'll need a lifetime. And baby, I've stopped explaining myself to others. I no longer try to justify our love or shrink it into something people can understand, because I get it now. Some things aren't meant to be explained. They're meant to be felt. And God, I felt you in every heartbeat, in every moment I wanted to quit, and remembered how you told me I was stronger than I thought. You believed in me before I ever believed in myself. And that kind of love leaves a mark that time can't erase. Do you know what haunts me most, baby? It's not the arguments, not the distance, not even the way things ended. What haunts me most is the silence that followed. The days where your name sat on the edge of my lips, but I swallowed it like poison. The nights when my fingers hovered over your number, but I convinced myself you didn't want to hear from me. And all the while, my heart was still screaming your name in every beat, still aching to tell you the things I never had the courage to say when it mattered. My mother, she saw through it all, the bravado, the silence, the fake smiles. She knew. And when she looked me in the eyes and said, you loved her, didn't you? I couldn't hold it in anymore. I broke. Right there in the kitchen, I cried in front of her like a little boy. Not because I was weak, but because I had finally come face to face with the truth I'd been avoiding. I love you. I still do, and losing you, it shattered something inside me that I don't think will ever fully heal. She told me, a love like that doesn't come back around unless it was meant to. And baby, those words haven't left me since, because every part of me is praying that maybe, just maybe, we were meant to find our way back, not to repeat the past, but to write a new story, one with less fear, one with more truth, one where I don't just love you quietly in my thoughts, but loudly, unapologetically, in front of the world. My mother sees it now. She didn't at first. She thought maybe you were just a phase, a lesson. But after my ex tried to paint you as a villain, and she saw the look on my face, the ache in my voice, something changed. She told me anyone who could love you that patiently, that deeply, was never the problem. And in that moment, it felt like someone finally saw you the way I always did. Like light in a world that tried to keep me in the dark. And baby, if you're wondering why I'm telling you all this now, it's because I can't keep pretending anymore. I can't keep walking around like you didn't change everything in me. You deserve to know that even when others tried to twist the truth, you were defended, you were protected, and not just by my mom, but by my own soul. Because no matter what anyone says, I know the truth. And the truth is, you are the best thing that ever happened to me. There's something sacred that happens when the person you once hid becomes the person everyone finally understands. When my ex exposed everything, our calls, our late night messages, even those photos of us laughing like kids in love, I thought my mother would be disappointed. I thought she'd say, "You should have been more careful." But instead, she whispered something I'll never forget. She said, "If this is what love looks like when it's raw, then maybe that's exactly how love is supposed to be." And that shattered every wall I still had up. She saw your texts. She read the messages where you told me, "No matter what happens, I'll always be proud of you." She saw the part where you told me to fight for my dreams, even if it meant letting you go. And then she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "I've never seen someone love you the way she did. Don't let this world convince you that kind of love is disposable." I haven't been able to sleep since, because for the first time I felt seen. And more than that, I felt like someone finally saw you for who you are. Not a mistake, not a phase, not a threat, but a woman with the kind of grace and depth that only comes once in a lifetime. And baby, I think that's what hurt the most. Not that we lost each other, but that I didn't fight harder when I had the chance, that I let fear win when love was standing right in front of me with open arms. I used to think love meant keeping things safe, hidden, protected behind locked doors and private chats, but now I know. Real love isn't meant to be hidden. It's meant to be declared, screamed from rooftops, carried proudly in the open, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's risky. Because if love isn't brave, is it even love at all? So here I am, exposed. The whole family knows. The truth is out. And instead of shame, I feel this strange sense of peace. Because maybe now, I don't have to pretend anymore. Maybe now, I don't have to keep you a secret just to keep things simple. Maybe now, I get to start over. Not with the world's permission, but with yours. If you'll still have me, baby. If I could take you into my mind for even a second, you'd understand the storm I'd been living in since everything came out. My ex thought she was exposing you. She thought she was digging up dirt. But what she didn't realize was all she did was plant the seeds for truth to finally bloom. And when those truths were spoken, when the screenshots and old chats were passed around like ammunition, I didn't flinch. I didn't deny it, because for the first time in my life, I stood up and said, yes, that's the woman I loved. That's the woman I still love. It was a war, baby. Not with fists or screams, but with silence and stares. You could hear hearts breaking in the room when the reality hit. My mom sat there, absorbing every word, every image, every drop of my ex's bitterness. And when she finally spoke, her voice didn't tremble. She didn't point a finger at you. She didn't ask me what I was thinking. She simply said, "Why would you let go of someone who would write words like that to you? Why would you walk away from someone who prayed for you behind your back?" And I couldn't answer, because she wasn't just defending you. She was healing me. She was waking me up from the sleep I had called survival. My mother, the same woman who once questioned your place in my life, looked at me with tears and said, "You pushed away a blessing, and I think you know that now." And I do. I swear to God I do. So that night, everything has changed. I can't even look at my phone the same way. Every message you ever sent feels like scripture now. Every good morning text from you, I'd trade 1,000 days just to wake up to it again. Every "I'm proud of you," you whispered when the world overlooked me. I feel it echoing in my soul. And the worst part, I thought hiding you was protecting you. You've protected me too. From the worst part, I thought hiding you was protecting you. But in reality, all I did was rob us of the light we could have stood in together. You were my angel, baby. My secret sanctuary. The one person who didn't treat me like I was too much or too complicated. You saw the mess and still called it love. And yet, I let others, people who didn't even know your soul, speak about you like you were forgettable. And I stayed silent for too long. But not anymore. That silence is dead. I buried it with my fear. And from now on, every word that leaves my mouth will speak your name with reverence. Because you weren't just my past, you're still my standard. You weren't just a moment. You are a miracle I never deserved, but one I'm still praying for. My brother said it's crazy how she never even fought back. She let your absence speak louder than any argument, and I just stared at the floor, because he was right. You didn't have to scream. You didn't have to beg. You simply left. And your silence was louder than my ego ever could be. But maybe this is the part of the story where I stop being a coward, where I start telling the truth, not just to you, but to everyone who ever doubted you. Maybe this is where the boy who broke your heart becomes the man who protects it, not with secrets, not with half-truths, but with action, with change, with devotion. You know what's strange, baby? After all this exposure, all the screenshots, all the voices chiming in, all the looks exchanged across the dinner table, it's quiet now, but not the scary kind of quiet, not the silence that used to come from hiding you. No, it's a sacred quiet, a stillness that feels like surrender, like truth has finally cleared the room, and now there's nothing left but honesty and consequence. And in that quiet, I hear your voice, not the voice from our last argument, not the tearful one, not the hurt one. I hear the voice you used when you were still mine. When you were sending me photos of the sunset and saying, "This reminded me of you." I hear the laughter you tucked between your goodnight messages. I hear your heart in all the small things, the way you always knew when I was anxious, even when I pretended I wasn't, the way you never asked me to be perfect, just present. You never asked me to choose you publicly. You just wanted me to love you truthfully. And God, I failed you there. I kept you in the shadows, not because I was ashamed, but because I was afraid of what loving you out loud would do to the fragile image I was trying to protect. The version of me that everyone thought had it all together. But what good is an image, baby, if it means losing the one person who saw my soul? I look back now and I see it so clearly. Every time you made room for me in your life, even when I gave you breadcrumbs. Every time you poured your light into me, even when I was running on empty. And all the while, I was hoping no one would notice, hoping the world wouldn't find out how deeply I needed you. And yet here we are. The whole family knows. My ex screamed it. My mom heard it. My brother looked me dead in the eyes and asked, was it all true? And I said yes. I said yes with no hesitation. Because baby, I'm done hiding. I'm done protecting my pride at the cost of your peace. You were never a secret. You were my compass, my soft place, my unspoken prayer, the one I should have built a home around, not a wall between. And now that everything's out in the open, now that the people around me have finally seen the way you loved me, truly loved me, I feel like I can finally breathe. But I don't want this to end in exposure. I want it to begin with redemption. I want the people who once judged us to watch me honor you now. I want them to witness my change, not because I need their approval, but because you deserve to be loved in the light. No more whispers, no more excuses, only vows, only presence, only truth. And if I have to win you back one step at a time, I'll do it barefoot on broken glass if I have to. I just want you to see that I'm not the man I was when I lost you. I'm becoming the man who would never risk losing you again. Baby, I still remember that night when we stayed on call, and you told me, I don't care if the world knows. I just want you to know what I feel is real. And I nodded like I understood, but I didn't. Not really. I didn't understand how brave it was for you to love me so loudly when I was still choosing silence. I didn't understand what it cost you to believe in me while I was still doubting myself. But now, after everything has been exposed, after the dust has settled, I do. I understand now, and it breaks me, because I finally see the difference between being liked and being chosen. My ex liked the idea of who I could be. The world liked the image of who I presented. But you chose the man behind the mask, the broken one, the confused one, the one who couldn't promise the world but gave you what little truth he had, and still, it wasn't enough, because I didn't protect you the way I should have. My mom said something that shook me. She said, if she gave you the kind of love I read in those texts, and you didn't fight for her, you don't need an enemy. You are your own. And baby, I realized I have been. I've been sabotaging my own future. I let voices that never knew our story speak louder than the voice that prayed over me every night. I let fear silence the kind of connection most people spend their whole lives searching for. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry I let the noise drown you out. I'm sorry I made you feel like your love had to shrink just to fit into the quiet spaces of my chaos. But not anymore. I'm building something now. Not with bricks made of guilt, but with beams of truth and honesty and accountability. And I want you to know, if you ever walk into my life again, there won't be any locked doors. There won't be whispers in the corners or excuses under my breath. There'll only be space. Space for your voice to echo, for your love to expand, for your light to shine without restraint. Because if love doesn't make you feel seen, it's not love. And you, baby, deserve to be seen. Deleted the old chats. Not because I want to erase the past, but because I want to build a future that doesn't rely on memories to remind me of your worth. I want to create new moments. I want to replace old pain with new presence. I want your hand in mine, not hidden under the table, but proudly, firmly, like a promise that never has to be whispered again. And if you still believe in second chances, if there's even a flicker of light left in you that remembers the way I once held you, once kissed you like the world stopped spinning, then let that light guide you back, because I swear, baby, this time I'll meet you there, fully, openly, with nothing left to hide. You know what's wild, baby? Out of all the people who could have defended you, it was her. The woman I thought would raise an eyebrow, the one I was terrified would never understand why I loved you the way I did. She stood between the chaos and said, "Let her name never be disrespected in this house again." And something inside me shifted in that moment, something eternal, something I could never unfeel, because it felt like you won, baby. Like after all the silence, the side glances, the way people used to whisper when they heard your name. Now, your truth has a defender. Now, you're no longer the girl I protected in private. You're the woman my mother respects out loud. And that, more than anything, made me feel like love might still have a way of finding us again. You see, I've learned that truth has a strange way of cracking things open. My ex didn't just share the facts. She dropped them like grenades, hoping to burn the bridges I secretly built in your name. She thought the screenshots would ruin me. She thought my mother would be ashamed. But instead, all those truths she weaponized became seeds. And now, my family looks at me not with judgment, but with curiosity, with quiet recognition, like they finally see what I was too afraid to show. They saw your eyes in those photos, baby. They saw the way I looked at you like the world had melted into your smile. And you know what my mom whispered after everyone left the room? She said, "I don't think I've ever seen you truly happy in any other picture." I choked up, because it was true. Because those were the moments I lived for. Those were the days I didn't have to pretend. And now, I keep asking myself, why didn't I protect this sooner? Why did I wait for someone else to scream your name before I had the courage to say it proudly? The answer is shame. Not shame about you. Never you. Shame about me. About the way I couldn't step into the man I was supposed to be when you loved me fully. I was too small for your kind of love back then. I didn't know how to hold something so divine without trembling. But now, after the war has been fought and lost and forgiven, I don't tremble anymore. I reach. I remember. I rebuild. I want to look you in the eyes and say, I'm not scared anymore. Not scared of what they'll say. Not scared of what might go wrong. Not scared of loving you out loud. Because baby, when the whole world knew and I thought all hell would break loose, the only thing that broke was the illusion. And what remained was this unwavering clarity. You were always the truth I was too afraid to claim, but not anymore. I would stand before the world now with your name on my lips like a hymn. I would tell my family, my friends, the stranger down the street, that's her. That's the woman who loved me when I was unlovable, who taught me to cry, not out of weakness but out of reverence, who saw through my silence and kissed the part of me I was still hiding. And if you walked into the room today, I swear to you, I'd run to you, not hesitate, not look around to see who's watching. I'd grab your hand and pull you close and whisper, I'm ready now. Ready for all of it, the healing, the hard conversation, the rebuilding. Because if we've already been through the fire, what's left to fear? The ashes only mean there's room to build something new, something true. So, if you're still listening, still wondering, still hoping, just know this: you've never left my heart, not for a second. Every time I walk into a room, I scan it like maybe, just maybe, you'll be standing there, arms crossed, eyes soft, waiting for me to say the words I should have said long ago. Absolutely. Here's a 500-word, updated, more emotionally intense version of that final confession segment, deepened with poetic weight and heart-stirring vulnerability, suitable for your divine masculine to divine feminine script. So here they are, the words I should have spoken long before this storm ever reached your doorstep, not as a plea, not as a tactic to win you back, but as a truth that's finally stopped trembling inside my chest. I'm sorry, not in the shallow, convenient way people use to patch up broken things, but in the deepest, soul-bearing way that says, I finally see the damage I caused, and I feel it now in every part of me. I'm sorry for every time I let fear silence me when love was asking me to speak. For the moments I made you question your worth because I was too afraid to name mine. For the days I left you hanging in the middle of your prayers, holding on to someone who wasn't strong enough yet to hold you back. But I see you now. I see the way you never stopped believing in me, even when I gave you every reason to let go. I see the strength in your softness, the wisdom in your silence, the fire in your patience. And I honor that. I honor you, because no one has ever held me the way you did, in faith, in spirit, in sacred love. You didn't just love the parts of me I was proud of. You stayed for the broken pieces too. You made the shattered feel holy, and I never told you enough how much that meant. So if there's even the smallest space left in your heart, a cracked doorway, a flicker in the dark, a single whispered maybe, I will not rush in like the man I once was. I will sit at the threshold and earn my place. Not through perfect words, not through tearful speeches, but through quiet consistency, through presence. I will show up, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard, when your mind spirals with doubt, when your soul shakes with fear. I'll be there, not because I want to fix you, but because loving you is the most healing thing I've ever known. And this time, I won't walk away. Not when storms rise, not when doubts creep in, not when your love confronts me with truths I still haven't fully learned to hold. Because now I understand. Love isn't measured in grand gestures. It's measured in who stays when the silence gets heavy. It's in who remembers your favorite song, even after you've gone. It's in who still prays for your peace when they can't hold your hand anymore. And baby, I never stopped praying for you. This time I stay, not to claim you, not to fix the past, but to walk beside you in whatever future you're willing to let me build with you. Brick by honest brick, day by sacred day. And if you're still listening, still hoping, just know I never stopped loving you, not even for a second. And if you made it this far, I know your heart felt it. Somewhere between the silence and the tears, between the regrets and the realizations, you heard his soul speak to you, not just with words, but with the ache of everything left unsaid until now. The pain, the longing, the love that refused to die. It's all here, woven between every confession and memory. If this message touched something deep inside you, if it felt like it was written for you, don't let it end here. Comment, "I forgive you." If your heart still believes in second chances, I still believe in us. If the love hasn't left your soul, or simply comment strong if you felt every word like it was meant for your journey. And remember, this is not just a video, it's a sacred moment, a healing space, a sign. Like this video if it gave your heart clarity. Submit for more heart healing messages, because your soul deserves to be spoken to with truth. Share this with someone who needs to know that their love, their pain, their silence, it matters. This is your space. This is your healing. And we're here together, one message at a time. See you in the next one.